Hello everyone and welcome back. In this video we are going to refactor our routes to use async await functionality. So let's go ahead and just come down to our routes and pull up our comics. And as of right now we're just using standard arrow functions to do stuff, and we're using the .then and .catch syntax to get this stuff to kind of execute in the order that we want it to. This is great, this works perfectly fine, there's not a problem with that until you get to some of the more advanced routes, such as down here in the show route, where we end up having to do a little bit of mess with callbacks, because it doesn't really work very nicely to have to chain your .thens together when you are also doing things inside of here and getting another one. So this is where we really need to do this. Up here is just to get us some more practice. So if you remember, in order to make a function a asynchronous function, you just add async in front of it, and then you can add await at any point you want to make it wait. So we want to await right there and make sure that this comic is going to be found. So we want to actually chain on the .execute right there, and then we're done with that. Then we don't need this .then or any of that stuff, so we can get rid of that. And we're going to res.render, get rid of all of this actually. Res.render comics passing in found comics. But right now this doesn't exist, so we have to come up here and set const comics equals that, and then we can just pass in comics there. So right now this will work perfectly fine. It does not handle errors as it currently sits, but this will work fine. Isn't that much cleaner and nicer? Basically you're getting your const right here, and then you are rendering the page. Goodness gracious, that's nice to look at. Now, if you remember, we have to use the try-catch block to handle any type of errors in here, so let's go ahead and set that up too. Try, and then you have a catch, and the catch is going to be passed to the error if there's an error. So let's put this inside of the try. And then if there's an error, we want to console.log of that error. Not error, we want to console.log the actual error. And then we're just going to res.send, and I'm just going to say you broke it, and then put the /index route. We're going to add much better error handling later with flash messages that'll let the user know, hey, this is what went wrong and here's why, but we're not worried about that right now. So let's save that, and then we can run it. So let's cd into Yelp comics, no daemon, there it's running, and let's get our running page. Enter. There we go. Works perfectly fine. We got our 3 comics and it's working. And now it's time for a challenge. Your challenge is to go ahead and refactor all the rest of the routes in the comics.js to use async await. Now remember, you need to put async before your function, and then you need to put await whenever you want your code to wait to get a response from something. For example, where I'm finding all the comics right here. One thing to note is that when you are calling comic.create or model.create, whatever your thing is, this is different because you don't have to use exec, because it's not a query, because this right here is a query and you have to use exec. Down here, you do not. In the comic.create, you do not. So keep that in mind as well. Go ahead and pause the video and knock that out. And once you're done, come on back. Alright, welcome back. I hope that went well and you were able to get that done without too terribly much trouble, but let's go ahead and do it together. So in this, first thing I need to do is make this an asynchronous function, async. And I can leave all the rest of this part the same because we're just creating constants. But now I want to try catch, so try catch, passing in the error, console.log error, and then res.send you broke it /comics post. And this is just for error handling on our end. We can fix that with the actual error handling later. So we're going to get this part, and const comic equals await that. So we are trying to create a comic here. If it works, I'm just going to go ahead and log that to the screen, so I can copy this up here, or cut and paste this up here. And then we want to redirect right there. So we don't need this then block, and we don't need this catch block, because we're handling that inside of there. So there is our post route. It looks like it's running. Let's make sure, yep, see if we're able to still add a new comic. There we go. It still works. Obviously the data is bad because we just smashed our face on the keyboard, but that route still works perfectly fine. Next route is a new route, and we don't have to do anything with this because we're not actually querying the database or doing anything that needs asynchronous, so we can just leave that alone. Now the show route is where we're going to have to do a little bit more magic because we're going to actually end up making 2 calls to the database, so we're going to use await twice. So let's go ahead and do async up here at the top, and then const comic equals await, find that comic, dot exec. We want to come down here and get const comments equals await. We're going to just find that. Let me get rid of all this dot then stuff. And instead, res.render that. Get rid of all this extra mess. So that'll work. We just have to put it inside of our try catch. Try catch. Try that. If you run into an error, console.log the error, and res.send you broke it /show or /comments/id, whatever. Just something in there to let us know where it broke, basically. And honestly, we could get that from Morgan without too much trouble. It just saves us a step. So down to the edit route, async. Got to turn the function into an async function. Then let's go ahead and set up our try catch. Open /comics/id/edit. So first we want to const comic equals await, comic equals await, and we're going to do this. And after that's done, we're just going to render. Okay, I can delete this comment because now that we understand the code, we don't need that because we know what it's doing. And we don't need any of that. There, that works. I did not test the show route, so let's test this show route and the edit route and make sure that they both work. Let's refresh. Go in here, yep, show route works. Let's click edit. Edit route works. It is being populated with all of the data exactly like we want, so both of those still work perfectly fine. Now we need the update route, or async. Again, we're just setting these are just constants that we're setting, so we don't need to do anything with those. Const comic equals await, and we're finding that. We need the exec. Then let's just res.redirect here. We don't need that, we don't need that. Then we can set up our try catch. I always find myself doing this in different order. I never do it the same way. So we're going to try this. Fix our indentation. If it works, awesome. If not, console.log that error. Res.send broken again. What's that /comics/id put. And I'm just being lazy with all of these, by the way. There's better error logging. I'm just being lazy because this is a small app and I don't have to be more in depth. And finally, the delete async const comic equals await that. Don't need that. We're going to log the comment. I mean the comic rather. We don't have to. And then we are redirecting. And that will work. We just have to put it inside of our try catch in case there's an error. then we res.send broken. This is to /comic/id delete. Semicolon. Save, and now let's test both of those routes. Let's test the update, so we're going to edit something, and then let's test the delete. So let's refresh this page to get the new IDs, come in here, edit this to make it say blah, 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 blah. Submit. Oh, we broke something. Let's see what I forgot, what I goofed. Comic is not defined. Okay, so in here, try const comic equals await comic. Oh, it's because I'm doing it twice. So what, found comic? No, I like that being comic. So I'll change this to comic body and pass in the comic body here. There's a name collision, by the way. That's why that was a problem, because I had the same name twice. Let's try it again. Go back to our comics page, come in here, edit, change the name, submit. There we go. Now the name is all that mess. So that is working. Let's try and delete it. Broken. Let's see what I forgot here. Oops, in the delete. Const comic equals that. Find ID and delete. What was the error? Deleted comic is not defined because I named it the wrong thing. There we go. I didn't update my variable like I should have. Bad Josh. Let's go back here. Back to comics. Find it here. Delete. There we go. And our delete is working. Perfect. So in this video, all we did was we turned all of these callback functions, or almost all of them, into asynchronous functions so that we could use the await syntax to clean up our code, make it more easily readable. We use try-catch blocks so that it runs the code in the try part, and if there is an error, it will run the code down here, passing in that error, and we're just console.logging that error, and then right now we're just sending some broken information saying, hey, this is broken, and here's where it's broken, just for our debugging purposes. In the future, we're going to actually add real error handling. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to help. Thanks.